Yep, good.
Yep. Okay, so just keep looking, just look at these two, but I'll be the one talking, but just respond to them. So look in their direction whenever you're talking or whatever's going on. Could you tell us your full name?
IreneFurst. F-U-R-S-T.
And Irene, where were you born?
I lived in Lodz, Poland.
What year were you born?
1921.
So how old are you now?
I am 93.
What is your religious identity?
Jewish.
And how many siblings do you have?
I had one sister and she died in concentration camp.
So your family lived in Lodz, Poland?
Yeah,
Your parents and your sister?
We lived in Lodz. Not only my whole family, my mother's family, my father's family, everybody lived in Lodz, Poland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Irene, if you want to tell us anything briefly, you know, short about that part of your life, we welcome you to. If you don't want to, that's also fine.
Well, I said I made
The testimony.
my testimony about my life, yes.
You want me to just use that?
You want me to, I had a wonderful childhood, and even so we were Jewish, we spoke Polish. My parents were secular Jews, not religious Jews. And I went to Polish school, and I graduated in 1937. And then I went to Krakow to a university to study, but I couldn't continue studying because on September 1939 the Germans invaded Poland and it changed my life. I was in Lodz ghetto from 1940 to 44. My mother died in ghetto. I was then in Auschwitz when they closed ghetto. We were shipped to Auschwitz. Was only 5 days in Auschwitz. And then there was a selection, and from Auschwitz I was sent with my sister to Stutthof. Stutthof was located in northern Poland, not far away from the Baltic Sea. And she died from typhus. It was the typhus epidemic, killed almost everybody, yeah.
Where was your father?
My father, we were separated in Auschwitz, and he was sent to concentration camp. Somebody told me the name, but I don't remember, and he died in concentration camp, yeah. So did most of my family, yeah. My mother had 8 siblings. She was one of 8 siblings, my father one of 7 siblings, and only 2 brothers, my father's 2 brothers with their daughters survived, but otherwise everybody, you know, I lost everybody, yeah.
So, you were in the ghetto for a long time. Can you So when and how did you get to the U.S.? How did you get here to the U.S.?
I met my husband in Germany after the war, and he had relatives in Baltimore, Maryland. And that's why we came to Baltimore, because he had relatives. And I must say that his relatives were very, very good to us. They really welcomed us with open arms. Yeah.
That's great.
And that was our family when we came over, yeah.
Irene, how many kids do you have?
What was the question?
How many children did you have?
I have 3 children. I have a daughter, Linda, who is the oldest, and I have 2 sons. I have 6 grandchildren, 1 great-granddaughter, and 1 on the way.
Irene, what was, if you had one, what was your first job when you came to the U.S.?
My first job was as a sales lady. I studied accounting. So I said when I went to study, I studied accounting, and I went here to night school too. But I don't know, they didn't trust me, so I worked as a sales lady.
Sorry about that, Irene. So you were saying it was a...
Yeah, my first job was as a sales lady.
Yeah.
And that gave me an opportunity, you know, in conversation.
Yeah. So did you
because
like...
I knew I could read and I could write. But, you know, before I came over, I didn't have anybody, you know, to converse really in English. And when I had my children, I stayed at home. I took some night classes at college. And I never wanted to work full-time. So I worked for 30 years at H&R Block as a tax preparer.
Huh.
I was an office manager, I was an instructor, and I worked 30 years as a tax preparer. Yeah.
Do you still
Income
do
tax
anyone?
preparer.
Do you
I
still
can
do?
still do it.
You
yeah.
can?
I can still do it, yeah.
That's funny. So Irene, I'm not sure if I think you mentioned it briefly. How did you meet your husband?
We met in Hanover.
Okay.
When I was liberated by the English, I lived in a DP camp, but then I left, and I ended up somehow in Hanover. The story was that I told you that 2 uncles of mine survived, and they were in Lodz, Poland, and somebody came to DP camp to look for his wife, and she already had somebody else.
Oh!
Because she was told that he died.
Oh Lord, that's terrible.
And he told me really that when they left, when the Germans took all the prisoners out from the camp, they left him for dead. And when the Russians liberated the camp, they were dragging him to a hole. Let me...
Go ahead, no problem.
Is that good for you now, Lauren?
Mm-hmm.
Light's okay?
Getting a shadow, but I like
Okay,
it.
Sarah, did you
Okay.
get my message? And so he told me that my uncle asked him to bring me to lodge.
Mm-hmm.
And because I don't have any family, he survived with a daughter. His son was in Warsaw and didn't survive. So he said I should come and be like a daughter. The wife was liberated with me. She was in Stutthof. I knew her, you know. And she met somebody in a DP camp and they fell in love. And she was told that he was dead. But he said when the Russians were dragging him to put him in a hole, you know, they didn't have, they put everybody in a hole.
Yeah.
Somebody noticed, said, oh, his eyes opened.
Ooh.
And they took his pulse, and they saw that there was pulse. They took him to the hospital, and they rescued him.
Yeah.
But she didn't know about it. And he went back to lodge thinking that maybe she came to lodge too.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were in DP camp, we all registered. And the lists were going all over, wherever there were survivors. So they found out in lodge, my uncle found out that I am alive, and his name was Izhovog. He found out that his wife was alive. But she already had somebody else, so he suggested that we will go back to lodge. But I think that he was a little bit ashamed to go back, and he suggested that we travel a little bit before. We were just friends. So we stopped in Bergen-Belsen. He wanted to see somebody in Bergen-Belsen, and I knew some people there too. And in Bergen-Belsen, they told us, why don't you go to Hanover? It is a beautiful city, and they have a place for the survivors. They will give you room and board. So that's where I met my husband. I stopped in Hanover in that place, and that's where I met my husband. Yeah.
And then you guys, did you come right here, like immediately to the U.S., or did you stay in Hanover for a little bit?
Now, to come to United States, he found out that he has relatives. We had to move to Frankfurt am Main, because you had to be in an American zone.
Oh.
So we moved to Frankfurt am Main, and I worked there for Joint Distributing Committee.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And we waited till our till our visas came, you know, and they we came on a ship, on a boat. Yeah.
Very cool. Irene, what would you say? This is kind of an odd question, but what would you say your favorite thing to do is on a day-to-day basis now?
I didn't hear you.
What's your favorite thing to do? Like just today, like what do you like doing? You like reading?
I like to read, but I have macular degeneration, so even so I use a Kindle. I can only read maybe 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
What I do, I play Scrabble.
I like that. Irene, where do your children live? Where do your children live?
One of my sons lives in Fairfax, Virginia.
Okay.
No, actually, my grandson lives in Fairfax. He lives in Woodridge, Virginia.
Okay.
He is an optometrist. He works for Kaiser Permanente.
Okay.
Has a good job, yeah. And my other son is a lawyer, and he lives now in what is it called? Oh boy, the memory near Miami, Coconut Grove in Miami.
Where was it again?
Coconut Grove, Miami. Irene, would you, if you had to say, would you say that your personal Holocaust experience held you back in your life at all?
Say it again.
Do you think that, did being in the Holocaust for you, did it hold you back at all in your life? And what you did with your life? Or?
No, not after the war, no.
Yeah. And my last question for you is, if you could pass along like a lesson or a message to, you know, either our age or younger people from your experiences, what would that be? What would you say to them to make sure that, you know, the lessons and the messages are learned from the Holocaust?
I always say that one thing we are all here on, but we didn't learn how to get along with each other. I feel that the most important thing in life is family, friends, love. That's the most important thing in life. That's the way I feel. I used to be a speaker, speaking about my experience about Holocaust. And I remember the first time I spoke, it was to middle school. They asked me whether I hate the Germans. I said, if I hating is a very, very disturbing emotion. I don't want to hate, but I will never forgive them for what they did. Now, my husband was liberated by the Russians, and he told me, he spoke a fluent Russian. He told me that they said to him, you can do whatever you want to the Germans. And he said, I wouldn't beat anybody, I wouldn't kill anybody. If I did, I would be the same beast as they were, he said. I just went and asked them to give me some clothing because he was wearing, you know, those striped things. And I went on with my own life, he said. I wasn't going to kill people.
Yeah.
And we all felt the same, we all felt the same way. We want to go on with our own life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thank you, Irene. Did you get enough pictures?
Yeah. Lastly, do you have any pictures around the house that you want me to take a picture of you holding?
Do you have a picture of you and your husband?
Yes.
Because he could take your picture.
I have a picture.
We're good on questions. Right?